like a San Franciscan would, even with the telephone wires in the middle. What the new tourists, what the new travelers are looking for is to live like a local and experience the off-the-beaten-path neighborhoods. To shop in the local bookshops, the local groceries, to hear from locals about the best cafes and pizza places. And they want to they want to live in a local's home and meet locals. New technologies and sharing economy business models are responding to these demands, to these new trends, probably faster than anyone else. For those who are not familiar with the very definition of the sharing economy is this socio-economic movement that it's based on the intense use of new technologies and allows a more efficient use of underused assets by making possible peer-to-peer interchange. Hence, we see how Facebook, or companies like Facebook, are creating massive networks of people connecting with each other. Platforms like Yelp, providing guidance directly from locals to travelers on what they can find, on what are the best ways to connect with a given destination. We can see companies of all kinds allowing the travelers to rent, to buy, to borrow services and goods with compensation or not, that allow them to experience the destination in a far more rich way. Of course, Airbnb is one of them. So, what does these new trends mean for a given destination? Let me share with you Airbnb's perspective on that. Well, basically, we have such a perspective. Since 2008, the year of its creation, more than 60 million travelers have used Airbnb. And the platform counts, as we speak, with more than 2 million listings in more than 34,000 cities and 190 countries. The first question that arises when speaking about Airbnb is how it impacts the traditional industry. And here, I would like to make very, very clear that in all our top markets, the hotels are growing to record numbers in room and occupancy rates. We are growing the pie, and we believe our model is complementary and completes the destination and makes it actually more competitive by providing the consumer with a wider range of accommodation supply. Airbnb cares a lot about the impacts in the different destinations, and we've been carefully studying this. I would like to share with you, first of all, which would be the main profile of the guest, of the traveler that visits a given destination. We see a huge percentage of them expressing their will to live like a local, to actually leave the destination in a more meaningful way. More precisely, we see how an Airbnb guest stays twice as longer and spends the double as a traditional traveler. Interestingly enough, 42% of the expenditure of these travelers remains in the neighborhood, in the very neighborhood where they are hosted. And this gives us the opportunity to explore indirect effects that are really, really powerful. Let me show a picture that demonstrates this power of this number. Here's a map of San Francisco. The darker dots are hotels and the lighter dots are Airbnb listings. You can see how Airbnb listings spread visits to neighborhoods that traditionally didn't benefit from tourism. In fact, on average, 74% of Airbnb listings in the world are out from more touristy, traditional hotel areas. If we apply that 42% of expenditure in those neighborhoods where people stay, we see how neighborhoods and economic sectors that traditionally hadn't benefited from tourism find a very powerful drive for economic development. Importantly, we also know the profile of our host, citizens, locals, that rent spaces in your home to travelers. When a tourist stays in a local's home, the vast majority of them, an 80% average, are renting the place where they live. It's not an investment property. And they are doing this because they need the additional income to help pay for the regular living expenses, rent, mortgage, etc. We see how 50% of our hosts manifest that they use the money they earn through Airbnb to stay in the homes where they live, or that on average, 48% of Airbnb hosts use the money they earn through Airbnb to face very basic expenses, basically for paying the bills or paying the rent, etc. We have also measured the environmental impacts of Airbnb. We see, first of all, we see a model where construction is not needed, new buildings are not needed, but also we see that by staying in Airbnb host places, there is considerable savings of energy, water, greenhouse gas emissions, and waste. Interestingly enough, also Airbnb hosts show considerably higher levels of sustainability awareness, for example, being able and do recycling regularly, using clean, environmentally friendly chemicals for cleaning. And finally, we also like to measure the social impact. The social impacts sometimes are hard to measure from a research perspective, but we've seen some stories that help us understand how the Airbnb experience goes beyond the cold numbers. Let me tell you a story. 2012, when Hurricane Sandy hit the east coast of the United States, nobody really expected that the damage it caused would be so serious. And actually, it took completely everyone by surprise. The host, Airbnb host, asked us to change the platform in order to allow them to host those people who had been out from their homes because of the hurricane. And in less than 48 hours, 1,400 people opened the doors of their homes and hosted for free the people who were affected by the hurricane. This let us understand the power of the community, and this event was at the base of our programs on disaster response that we've been able to implement in different moments, including the recent Nepal earthquake or the European refugee crisis. We are talking about innovation, and we are talking about an innovative model. Sharing your home, sharing the place where you live, not always has the clear regulations that hosts may like to see. So, apart from the impacts we measure, we also work in close collaboration with different governments, with different cities, and with different stakeholders in order to better define what would be the fairer, clearer regulations for this activity. We've been partnering with the UK government, the French government, Portuguese government, different cities and different governments in making progress these solutions for our host community, but as well for the destination itself. For example, we've assessed, in collaboration with this government, how Airbnb helps cities to cope with big events. We have a good example with the Brazil's Football World Cup, where we added 4,000 beds in 2 weeks, and actually the cities really welcomed these extra beds in a moment where they had a massive impact of visitors. This allowed, for example, that we became alternative accommodation partners of the Rio Olympics this year. Likewise, we have also developed other kind of projects with cities. For example, collaborative tourist guides. Guides that have been produced and developed in collaboration with the city, with the neighbors, and with the community, where neighbors can highlight, locals can highlight what are the main attractions, what's the actual culture, what's the actual feeling of their neighborhoods to share with the guests they visit. Or yet another example, this directly related to economic development of neighborhoods. In those neighborhoods that are not used to take the most of tourism, sometimes it's good to partner with them, to help them understand tourism, to help them understand how to take the most from collaborative economy. We did so with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce in New York, where we partnered with the local businesses. To take the most of these, to adapt their offer, to adapt the product to the new visitors, to the new international customers. Well, I've walked you by the general concept, the new experience, the different impacts, and the different ways we work with governments, with the industry, and with the different stakeholders that work around tourism. We look forward to collaborating more with the broader tourism industry and with governments around the world to harness the benefits of Airbnb and the sharing economy for more destinations. Thank you very much.